I mean, you can cut this out.
Jim, cut that out.
Oh, well, you just cut this part out.
Cut that out.
Cut that out.
Cut that out, Jim. I'm not fucking doing it.
3, 2, 1.
All right. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Server Restart in episode 31. It's a World of Warcraft podcast where three opinionated players like to get together to discuss their thoughts and opinions about the current state of the game. My name is Jim. I'm joined by Kristen.
Hi.
And Brian.
Hi.
Hi. And yeah, episode 31, guys. I can't believe we've been doing this for 31 weeks.
It's the big time.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. It's
Yeah.
it's a time.
This is when it starts happening for us.
I don't.
This is when we get famous. I can't even say that with a straight face.
I would like whatever drugs you're on.
Yeah, me too. I've been watching Twitch all day, so
Yeah, that's not a good drug.
yeah.
So anyway, a little bit of news regarding the games.
News.
One of the recent patches, they did a tank balance. So basically, every tank got a 10% damage reduction increase and a 10% magic damage reduction increase, except for Demon Hunters. Demon Hunters got a 5% increase to their physical damage reduction, and a minus 5% to their magic damage reduction.
Oh, because wasn't there a bug or something?
They had like 15% magic reduction or whatever.
Like,
so
how do you go? I mean, clearly it's been the entirety of the expansion that this is.
I don't think so. I think they made a change to something along the ways, and people were noticing that they were taking 15% less damage than they should have been.
Like, I just don't understand.
I don't know either.
Why you wouldn't make that adjustment and you would wait. And this is what I don't like about they do like the meta stuff, and they just leave it in for forever instead of it's frustrating.
I don't know if they knew about it or if it just was unintended. Anyway,
They should have known about it.
Anyway, I mean, yeah, but somebody can complain about it, but unless you actually collate the data and all that stuff and actually determine if that's really the case or not, you can't just act on somebody telling you something.
I can't imagine that there's nobody at Blizzard that plays a Demon Hunter.
No, because Demon Hunters suck.
Oh my god.
I don't know. That was a thing. They removed the cap on Soul Ash.
Thank God.
So I don't know.
What was it?
It was 8,000.
Yeah, now I can just not do Torghast and just have it not add up, and be capped.
So I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was 8,000, so now it just doesn't cap out at 8,000.
You know what? That really pisses me off because I just had to spend all of my stupid Soul Ash so I could get more, and now there's no cap. Like, what the F are they
Why
thinking?
do you need more, though?
I mean, I don't right now, but clearly I don't think legendaries are going to cap out where they are now, right?
No, they'll probably get
They're
more
gonna
levels.
bump up.
The
They're
next-
going to be bumped up.
In the
so
next
I'd like
tier,
to,
they'll bump up.
yeah,
for
I'd
sure.
like to store some Soul Ash
Maybe
for when
we'll
that
be able
happens.
to wear 2.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was a plan to wear more than 1.
Like in Legion.
Yeah, like it might be like in Legion. And speaking of the next patch, the 9.1 patch is going to be on the PTR in 2 weeks.
You were just
apparently.
going through those topics like bam, bam,
I don't.
bam.
I want to get through the bullshit and get to
Oh.
the interesting stuff.
What's the interesting stuff?
We'll get there.
Oh, there's interesting stuff?
You know what?
I'm asking. I'm legitimately asking because I did not know that.
The interesting stuff is the stuff we talk about
Oh.
because we're interesting people.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's just kind of like the basic news. It just kind of like what I felt was important. I don't know if It's
I mean,
real.
the 9.1 PTR is the most important entire thing in the entire
Yeah.
freaking world. So,
Yeah, that
Yeah.
I
So
mean-
that'll be on PTR soon. So
2 weeks.
so if it's on PTR mid-April, where does that put us at prediction wise? Considering they're still working from home.
I'm still saying June.
I'm on board with that.
What?
I think
June?
June. I think so. End of May, June. Maybe last week of May.
It's going to be a
June.
Memorial Day weekend release.
I see. What's funny is I was saying into May, but I think it's going to be.
Earlier?
I think it's going to be in June.
Yeah. You think so?
I think it's
Yeah.
gonna be in June. Yeah.
I mean, because typically, how long do they have the thing on the PTR? At least a month, right?
Well, my hope would be is that it's further along than they usually are, and they don't have to test as much.
Ah.
But I know that's not the case.
Right.
So,
That's never the case.
yeah. Because ideally, in my brain, like, okay, well, they've been working on 9.1 for the last year, right, or something
They
like
have.
That's his best case
They probably
scenario in
have
his
not.
brain.
Oh, I was
In my
gonna
brain,
say,
that's what
wait, your brain is very optimistic.
Well, I mean, but software releases are like a train, right? Once one stage is over, like it just goes down a pipeline, and so the last few months, it's probably not like it's core development.
You said a train,
So
and I thought a train
Yeah.
wreck. To be honest.
Oh, I thought
that
it,
might be what it is.
I thought a train.
They probably had to stop
Oh.
one train and then get back on the other train to help the train finish all this other crap.
Jim. Meanwhile, Jim's
I'm thinking of the other kind of
thinking
train.
of the other kind of train. Yes. Jim's been spending too much time in the
In where?
Elaborate. Go ahead and
train-
elaborate on this other train.
the train rooms.
You don't even know what you're talking about.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I don't know.
yeah, no, I don't know. May would be nice because it would be sooner. June, I just think feels more realistic. As far as reality.
I wish they would just stop doing it sooner though and do it when it's actually ready and not when it's mostly ready and then they have to spend the rest of the time plugging all the holes. Because that just feels very frustrating. Just if we're gonna have to wait, just make us wait until it's done. Bam. You know?
Yeah, but there's holes that are just blatant gaping holes, and there's little cracks and micro holes and stuff like that. Like, balancing is really hard to do because you cannot, with a small group of people, really get enough data to do all that stuff. And the PTR is going to be very small as well. You know, it maybe in terms of numbers because you're not going to have a full population. So it just, you don't get all the data you really need to fix things. And, you know, people aren't going to necessarily have access to everything at the end. And there's, you know, with all the different pieces of gear, all the conduits, all the soul binds, all, you know, the enchants and all that stuff, people can be super inventive and come up with weird combinations that they just don't foresee. So, I mean, it's a very unique possibility that somebody can come up with that's something that's like game breaking as far as like stat tuning and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's just there is a fine balance there where you can't. There has to be a certain point where the game is playable and some of the things are okay to leave in there because you can't. And I want to say we've talked about this weeks ago, like maybe towards the beginning of when this, but like you can't work a game to perfection before release. I mean, especially one like WoW, because it's always changing, and it's just like if they released, you know, 9.0 or whatever the hell the name of this thing, Shadowlands, if they waited until everything, I couldn't even think of the goddamn name. If they waited until Shadowlands was perfect and they weren't going to have to make any changes until 9.1, we still probably wouldn't have it. And it's the same thing with 9.1. If they were to wait until they had everything in there nailed down and lying flat and everything was good and that's the way it was going to be, then you'd be waiting a lot longer than 5 or 6 months. And there's a point where the first stuff doesn't have enough content to support it. And part of the reason is because you're trying to follow a release schedule where you have content coming out at intervals. So if you want to put more content in there and you're going to want to make it perfect, it's going to take even longer. So it's just, you have to find this mix. And sometimes it's good and it's just minor tweaks. And sometimes there's just unforeseen things because things do slip through the cracks.
Yes. I understand things slip through the cracks, but it just feels like a lot of things slip through the cracks. Like they, they're sifting things and a lot of stuff. Like they have holes in their sifter. I
mean, that's like by definition.
No, big holes in their sifter with big things that slip through.
Well, the problem is if you don't put dry ingredients in there, or you mix your dry and your wet too soon, your dry clumps, and then the small problems can compound in unforeseen ways. So that could be why it seems like it's more stuff than it should be. Right, it's just like,
well, not to mention that we consume like so much more content at a time as players than we ever did before. That's one of the biggest problems, is that we almost have too much in get it. I mean, it kind of goes back to like talking about how, the difference between classic or the way it used to be versus now, right? Whereas one quest may take you 10, 20, 30 minutes to complete, right? A quest can take you, if it takes longer than 5 minutes, it's annoying now. You know what I mean? Like they squish down and it creates its own content, right? If you have to go out and fight to survive to finish a quest that takes 30 minutes, right? I mean, that's your content, right? Now your content is
more quests.
Been squished down from 30 minutes to 5 minutes. So within 30 minutes, you're doing a quest, flying, turning in stuff, selling stuff, doing all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like we're playing the game so much quicker now because of ease of access or whatever it may be.
And it's not very compelling. Like I wish that it was, but the gameplay does not feel very compelling.
That's part of just the way the majority of the player base is become. Is you have these people that want things. It's the instant gratification problem, right? It's just like I remember playing games growing up, before World of Warcraft and all that stuff, and like you go throw in any like old RPG game or whatever, it's like you had hours and hours and hours and hours and hours to get that game done, and it was just like, and if you didn't know how to like game the system and what the best things were because you weren't using a guide, or like a lot of my time spent in any of the old Final Fantasy games was out in the open world running around killing stuff so that I could go stock up on potions and stuff like that, so I had items to use in the major battles to come, and like trying to level up and stuff like that. And people don't want that anymore.
Yeah,
and
it's
so,
a shame.
It sucks because I think it's more of a more of a suggestive style of playing, though. I think that I don't think people want to go back to EverQuest and EverCrack and all that stuff. I think that was
too much.
Even though it felt very immersive and it felt like you had made major accomplishments because it took so long and it was very difficult to do. Yeah, it did mean a lot, but at the same time, then like if your one goal to achieve is almost far-fetched when you're playing the game, like to the point where you have to invest so much of your life into it, it's not worth it. Even in vanilla in BC, like I remember I was way too consumed. Like just thinking about how consumed I was with that game is, kind of embarrassing to me to think back on sometimes, because it was just way too much.
That was how I was in Legion. Like I played way too much in Legion. Way too much. And part of that was I had the time to play. But part of that was the way that the game was designed. Because in Legion, you were farming everything for your weapon, right? To be able to progress your artifact weapon. And the more points you had in your weapon, the more damage you did. And so it was a, keeping up with the Joneses type thing. You didn't want to get far behind because you still wanted to be able to do, from my perspective, do damage, because that's what I do, is do damage.
Do damage? That's what I do.
That's what I do. I'm a damage dealer.
What do I do?
Do damage. But I mean, it's the same thing for healers and the same thing for tanks, But yeah, I played way too much, like an embarrassingly amount, like you said. I played way too much. And I can look at it now and I'm like, holy shit, I played way too much. Like, I let shit go in my life that, luckily Jim plays with me. So
Jim came back. That's all that matters.
No. Luckily, Jim plays with me and was
left.
playing that much with me. So that wasn't an issue. But yeah, there were things that I certainly could have done in my real life, to better it, that I didn't do because I was so immersed in this game during Legion. And maybe I don't want to say dissatisfaction, but maybe this is kind of a rebalancing of how it was, and maybe that's what BFA was too. I played way too much in Legion.
Don't you appreciate a little bit of not feeling like you want to go back and play all the time?
Yeah,
I kind of do. I kind of like the idea that I can jump on every third day or something like that, and then feel like I need to do a little bit of things. But
I do feel like I am somewhat letting down, our group raid-wise, if I'm not able to pull big numbers. But I'm getting over that. Honestly, more time as I spend away from the game, I'm like, you know what? Because shocker, I'm a super competitive player when it comes to DPS. Very competitive. And if people start beating me in DPS, then I start getting, what can I do? What can I do? I need to do something. I need to either, look at my talents. I need to look at my gear. I need to look at the way that I'm playing. I need to do this. I need to do that. I am a huge min-maxer, and I'm definitely not doing that now. And I heard all that, by the way. So I don't know if
I can take it out. Keep going.
Okay. Jim's clipping.
What happened?
Jim was clipping his nails.
I wasn't. I was playing with nail clippers. I wasn't clipping anything.
Oh, I thought you
Anyway.
It
Damn it,
sounded
Jim.
like you were clipping your nails.
Good job, Jim. Good job.
Yeah.
I just wanted her to know what it felt like. You know what? I think I'm going to leave it in. Anyway. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. It got me distracted a little bit, but that's fine. I don't remember what I was saying.
Him going to keep it in? Got you distracted?
Yes.
What? Huh?
So anyway, I do feel a little bit bad when I'm not, doing the best DPS. I'm doing the best DPS that I can, but my gear doesn't necessarily support the best DPS that I can do. I could probably farm better and get better gear, some PvP.
We were over geared for normal, so we were fine for that.
Yeah.
So there was no letdown, and we're getting ready to start heroic.
Yeah.
Well, it's just, you have to understand, it's the raid stuff doesn't hinge on one person's DPS.
know.
So it
But
really
it makes
shouldn't be a
it
you thing.
easier if I'm able to contribute a little bit more.
It makes it a little bit easier, but that
Yeah.
still doesn't matter. It's not a you thing; it's a we thing. So,
I know. I'm getting better at that. I am.
I mean, it's just like our healers have been so inconsistent. I've been healing the last couple of times.
Yeah.
So that's another, major source of DPS that's gone.
Yeah.
But it's still allowed us to continue on. So
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's very helpful that we do have people who can heal as well to kind of to make up for that. That's helpful. We definitely have a healer shortage right now. I don't know what it is, But
it's just people in general.
yeah, I mean, it's just
was
maybe
it?
it's just that time.
Oh, never mind. Sorry, cut that out.
Okay.
You said
I
who?
was about to ask, like, oh, hey, who was our original healer and all this other crap? And it's like, no, it's not. That's
Oh,
not the conversation we're having.
Yeah, it's not like, and it doesn't matter. I mean, it's like people move on. People have things that.
Oh no,
change
I
life.
know. That's what I'm saying. It was like a personal, like, I'm trying to remember who we started with this tier, but
I mean, you can cut this out, babe.
I don't want to have to. I want to just keep things flowing organically.
Oh, well, you just
sorry,
cut
my
this
bad.
part out then, maybe.
Jesus Christ,
Anyway,
making my life difficult.
I know. So where was I? What was I talking about? Oh yeah, feeling like every day that I don't get into the game makes me worry about that a little bit less. And I'm like, you know what? It is what it is. And you're right. It's not reliant on me. It's reliant on everybody as a team. So that kind of gives me the permission to not play. So thank you for that permission.
I mean, you're giving yourself permission to not play. So
Yeah.
if I had the choice of what I care most about when it comes to stuff like this, I'd choose communication over any balance of DPS, tanks, heals, whatever it may be, all day long.
Yeah.
Right? I'd rather have the people that can make it sometimes and can't, but you know what I mean, that they're there to say, hey, I can't be there, or I can be there.
well,
I'd rather have that every day of the week, other than
yeah.
you know the best possible combination.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
So
and it's just that's why I think we started using that raid helper bot. And I think that's kind of helping. People sign up.
I like that thing.
It's even it's got tentative, so you can know if somebody's maybe going to be there, maybe not. And it's looking at it right now. We got 7 people signed up for sure. And 1 tentative. So I mean that's pretty damn good for a holiday weekend. Because
Oh, is it a
Easter-
holiday
yeah,
weekend? Oh,
Easter.
it's Easter.
so I mean, people are going to have different things going on. So I mean, it kind of helps us gauge what's going to happen.
Right.
So and I know that there's probably a few people that aren't necessarily used to or aware of these things. So and we just got to kind of nudge people to be more mindful of doing it. If we get people into the habit of it, it just helps us balance the stuff out. So
Mm-hmm.
and
yeah, well, I think the important part is just like people actually understanding that it's more of a just trying to help the team adjust to make it happen rather than some kind of an accountability mechanism.
Right. It's helpful. It's very helpful for planning because that way we know whether or not Jim or I are going to be healing that night. You know what I mean?
Oh, just in general, like if we're not going to have tanks and
Right.
you know what I mean? So it's just, I mean, obviously, and DPS, I mean, all of it. So, and it kind of helps us
Or
too.
even at this point, if it becomes more of an alt run rather than a main run, I
Right.
mean, that's helpful for people to know too.
Mhm.
Right. And I mean, it helps us to kind of know where our balance is as far as ranged and melee DPS too. And that kind of helps too because some of those fights, like Denathrius,
Yeah.
hinge on having more than 1 or 2 ranged DPS. I think the first time we did it, we had 1.
Yep.
And luckily we had
Mobile DPS.
We had people with, Brian has his leaps because he was on
Yeah.
a warrior. And then we had somebody that was Venthyr, so they had like the
Yeah.
Shadowgate thing,
Yeah.
so they could get over there
Yeah.
for those things. So, and he pulls you back eventually. So, I mean, it,
Eventually.
we made it
Yeah.
work with, what we had. So, I mean, it's just, that's all,
Yep.
So that's kind of, it's nice. It's nice to be able to
Plan.
just to plan and it just lets people know.
Mm-hmm.
And people can let us know. And it's just like we don't have to hound people and all that other kind of stuff. So, but
Yeah, I don't like hounding people.
yeah, it feels bad, man.
Yeah.
Just
I'm not a
like,
fan
hey,
of that.
Hey, are you coming tonight? Hey,
Yeah.
are you coming tonight? Nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah, I certainly don't want to be a nag.
I don't mind hearing it.
I I don't want to be a nag.
Oh.
And
Hey.
keep asking people. So, I'm very, very sensitive to that. So, I don't know.
But all right, well, that's pretty good on that. So I don't know. It's hard to make a.
That's a good discussion.
That was a good discussion. I like that. You know, what's today? Friday. Yesterday was April Fool's.
Yeah.
One and there's a few. I'll put out their weird patch notes, which
And
that's-
Wowhead, man, takes the cake, though. Wowhead
Yeah.
did it. Like, they knocked it out of the park.
So they data mined a new patch. What was it?
9.0.9, I think.
9.09.
Yeah.
909.
90505.
No, that was WoW. That was WoW's blue post.
Yeah.
Wowhead was 9.09.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Yep, I see.
Like their data mined one. And one of the first things is they data mined what they call the redeemed Sylvanas model.
No, the first thing was the horse.
Mhm.
You're just going for the Sylvanas one.
It wasn't.
It was. It's the first thing they had in the thing was the horse. It was Anduin's horse, Reverence, and it looked amazing. Like, super amazing.
Somebody did one about the Undermine expansion.
Undermine?
I think that was
Yes, there was a new expansion coming out.
It actually looks good too. I think that's the way these things always go, though. They all look interesting. I don't know who did the Undermine one though. I think it was a community person.
If you watch the video, the first thing is Anduin's
I wasn't
horse.
watching the video, but it was anyway. Yeah, Reverence. So, like I
Thank you.
said, Reverence is because it's part of the new covenant.
Yes.
Like I said, and the new covenant was the Mossworn, and you had to hit Renown 200 to get that mount, which is pretty funny.
It's such a nice mount. Holy
Yeah.
crap. I want that mount. Blizzard needs to put that goddamn mount in the game.
Yeah, let's just take
But
a moment.
that was Wowhead, right? That wasn't.
Yes.
That was Wowhead, yes.
Let's take it a moment to appreciate the artwork team
Yeah.
from Wowhead
Yeah.
that designed a pretty damn good
Of
looking
an
mount.
amazing looking mount. Yes. And it was funny because Jim was like, well, it's just a reskinned version of Invincible.
It just reminds me of
and
Invincible,
I'm like,
but
well,
with Flash.
yes, but that's the point because, Anduin is mirroring the Lich
Mirroring. He's mirroring.
mirroring the Lich
Mirroring
King.
is what brings us together today.
Oh my god. The Lich King at this point, so it would make sense that his horse would also mirror
What is this mirror you speak of?
mirror. So that made sense to me. Like when you said that, I was like, yeah, I think that's the point, But I thought it looked amazing. Like, what an amazing looking horse. Like, yes, please.
Yeah, and then
You-
go ahead.
Did you see the TBC mounts that somebody posted?
No. These-
Kind
It
of.
was.
Kind of. The mana one, the mana worm one. Not
It was a
worm,
Mana Worm. There was
not
a
Mana
Phase
Worm.
Hunter,
Yeah, Phase Hunter. That's the one I was
a
thinking
Fell
of.
Reaver, and something else.
Were they
I
like
think
April Fool's mounts?
Yeah.
Oh.
Somebody on Reddit posted them.
I think Redeemed Sylvanas looks ridiculous.
Oh yeah, that
Like
was another thing too. Is like
ridiculous.
they data mined a redeemed Windrunner Sylvanas. And it's just a rescolor.
Her skull.
Uh,
That's all you see is her skull, so I can understand why you made that.
yeah, the face is very not
Yeah.
good looking.
Yeah.
Like in the
Yeah.
close-ups, and I don't know if it was just like a model they got,
Yeah, it's
and
terrible.
like the scar doesn't even line up
Yeah.
on her eye.
It is not a good job. As good a job as they did on the horse.
I mean, this
they
last
did
picture
not
is pretty
do a
good looking,
job.
but like some of the other ones, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what they were doing with that, but it was clearly somebody had no love for Sylvanas. That's all I gotta say.
I don't understand that.
Yeah, I know you don't.
Oh, that's a nice looking mount, that Phase Hunter.
I thought the Phase Hunter though was actually something that they were talking about implementing in.
Well, you know what the sad thing is? There's been so much content that's come out in the past couple of days, and
It's hard.
90% of it's bullshit.
Yeah,
so
I
it's hard to
know.
remember what's what.
I know. I actually am kind of excited about Burning Crusade. I think I'm gonna make a warlock and a shadow priest and do some stuff in that. When Wrath comes out, that's gonna be even better because I'm gonna make a druid and I'm just gonna run around in I'm just gonna run around in tree form.
Oh,
the
because they
time.
took it away?
Yep, because they took it away going into Cataclysm. So
Wait, took what away?
tree form. So druids used to have
Oh, yeah.
in Healy
No, I
spec.
remember.
Yeah, they
I
used to
healed
have.
it as a druid
Yeah.
for a little bit.
Yeah, they used to have their own form where it counted as a shapeshifted form, so you couldn't get polymorphed, which was the problem because healers running around not having to worry about getting polymorphed. You know,
But as a druid, can't you just shape and shift into any form?
you can, but that requires you to shapeshift into any form. There also was not a global cooldown on shifting either, so power shifting was a thing. So you could shift and shift right back, and there was no cooldown, which I miss. I hate that. I hate that there's a. I mean, it's fine, and I can get around it, but it's annoying, you know. But anyway, yeah. So it just took away that having to do that. You could, so you didn't have to worry about getting polymorphed because you were in a form.
So you can't be polymorphed if you're in a form.
Yeah, like so I can't ever like. Have you ever noticed like when we do the other side, and they cast that hex? Heroes! They can't ever hex me because I can't be polymorphed because I'm a boomkin and I'm in a form. So I'm in boomkin form, so I can't
Does Hex work the same way as polymorph?
Yep.
God, it's fucking horseshit.
Yep, 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 yep,
Nerf,
yep.
Horse
Noof druids.
shit.
Would you say noof druids?
No, I did not say
Noof
noof dudes.
Noof
Noof dudes.
Noof druids?
All right, guys. The name of the episode is Noof druids.
Noof druids.
Noof druids.
That's what it sounded like you
druids.
said. It was
I'm
noof.
sorry. Well, I didn't mean for that.
Newfound druids.
And then I guess one of like the last things on the Wowhead thing was the Lich King Pepe,
Oh yeah, that was super cute
which
too.
is pretty good looking. And then they
Yeah.
said there was some sort of loading screen where Lich King Pepe and Illidan
Illidan
Pepe
Pepe.
were
Yeah.
recreating the Warcraft 3 scene where they
Yeah.
fight. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that was good. That was, I'm telling you, I think Wowhead took the cake as far as the April Fool's stuff. I mean,
Yeah, they did a pretty good job.
the Sylvanas thing was kind of weak, but it got the point across, right? So, you know, even if the art was a little weak, it still got the point across that it was like, you know,
Yeah.
which was fine by me, you know.
And you guys are talking about the classic mounts and stuff like that. They made there was an article from Wednesday, and I guess they're making some changes to the world buffs in classic,
Hmm?
and it's
Well, they're not really changing anything. They're just creating an item to store
so
your world buffs.
yeah. So
Wait,
so
what?
basically, you would collect the world buffs, and instead of just logging out to preserve them, you would use this item, and it would store them. So that way, you don't have to worry about them running out, and you can do other things.
That's actually really a nice thing.
And
It's actually a really good idea.
Yeah.
and then it's called
Yeah.
it's called a Chrono Boon Displacer.
Huh.
And then you can use it, and you can't use it multiple times. It's got like an hour cooldown or something like that, so you can't like use it for a boss, take them off, use it for a boss, take them off. that
Right,
kind of
so
thing.
they still count down after your, like, so you get them,
Get them. You
and they still
I
count
wouldn't be
down.
surprised if they increased that cooldown though, because even for an hour in older raids, like I would say there's a good chance that you could reuse that.
Yeah,
well, I think
Oh, I will-
no, I think once you use them, you can't like
reuse them.
they don't. How long were the buffs for?
Like 2 hours, I think. Were they like 2 hours?
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, the rallying cry of the Dragon Slayer. I don't. Is an hour or 2 hours? I don't remember.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so I mean, they're making it so you don't have to do it.
So you can still play, like, and you don't have
yeah.
to log out.
You don't
because
have
that's
to-
what people do. They go on and they're reading tunes. They get the buffs, and then they
log
log out and don't play that character until it's time to raid, which
Yeah.
is not fun.
Yeah,
definitely.
that's I think that's a pretty neat thing.
Yeah, I agree.
You will not be able to store a buff and then go get it again.
Sure, that
So,
makes sense.
Anything that's in the thing, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So, which that makes sense, and that seems like a neat thing. It's weird to see them, like, I mean, okay, hindsight's 20/20, right? You can look back at something from the past and go, "Man, I wish we could have done that." And it just seems like Blizzard's getting a chance to do
Yeah.
that. They're getting a chance to kind of go back and make little tweaks and stuff like that to make it a little bit better.
Yeah, and they've already stated that like the whole intention was to let the classic era live through it, right, without making changes, and then because this is something they wouldn't implement, or they're not going to implement until TVC
137.
comes out.
Right. Yeah.
It says 113.7, so I don't know.
Well, that's what. Well, it's from what I think I read, unless I was high. I don't get high, so that's not the case. Cut that out. It's whenever they split
don't
off
get
to the
high.
classic era. The classic era. I don't get high. You know what I mean? What was that? It was classic era, right? When when you decide whether you want your character to go
Right.
to BC
Right.
or stay in that. I think that's when they're implementing that. If I read it correctly.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Yeah, I don't think it's.
Yeah, I don't know. 113.7 is on the PTR, so I don't know if that means anything.
Elite.
No, it'd be.
Wait, 113.7. No, not 13.
That
It's not-
that's
not
that would
seven.
be
That is on-
13.37. Never mind. Never mind. I wasn't thinking. Cut that out.
No. You guys can't sit here and just go, I don't like what I just said. Cut that out, Jim. I'm not fucking doing it.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, we can.
You can say it, but it's just going to sound really weird in the episode when you guys are just like, cut that out. Cut
I
that
think.
out.
Well,
I
I'm-
think.
I'm
Cut
in-
it
gonna
out,
put
Jim.
it in Windows. I'm gonna put it in Windows Player or whatever it is, and chop it up.
I think.
like I'm in Windows Paint.
I think our entire intro should just be us saying, "Cut that out. Cut that out. Cut that out. Cut that out.
Cut that out. Cut that out. Jim, cut that
Cut
out.
that out, Jim.
Jim?
Cut that out."
See
Cut that out.
you-
Cut that out.
You
Jim.
make it so much worse
Cut
for
that
me. Because I'm going to fucking do it now.
Now you're gonna have to cut it out. I don't think you have
Oh.
to cut this out.
Cut it out. I'm not, because it's funny. But it's just going to be, and that's the name of the episode, cut it out.
Cut it out.
Oh.
Okay,
Cut it
there
out.
you go. Cut it out.
Oh, cut it out.
Oh my god, I
All
love
right.
it when they get organically named just like that. It's very, very helpful.
No, I planned this.
Cut that out too.
Oh,
All right,
no.
all right, whatever. We're gonna move on because this is getting ridiculous.
Wait, what are we moving on to?
I'm gonna.
Do we have more stuff to talk about?
Cut that out.
Actually, no, we don't.
No, we
I
don't.
don't. Oh no.
Yeah, so cut that out.
Oh no, there's something I forgot to write down that I
Oh.
wanted to talk about, and I thought it would be a pretty decent topic.
Surprise.
Yeah, it's a surprise even to me because I
Surprise.
forgot about it.
Wait, do a laugh track or something.
No. Oh wait, yeah, you mean push the
You
button?
have
I'm
a
not-
push
I
the
don't know
button.
which button's the laugh track. I'm not pushing it.
I'll go push them all.
No, you get
you
out
have
of here.
one there?
He has
Do I
a
have
laugh
one?
track. Yes.
I want to hear it.
Can I bring my
Cut that out.
microphone over there and stick it in front of something?
No, and it is going to get
Stick
cut
it in
out.
what?
And
Ha!
anyway, what I wanted to talk about was factions, right? So factions, faction identity, and just kind of how it's evolved from, like vanilla to now, and just kind of where it feels like it might be going. Like,
Well,
okay,
sorry. Keep going.
no.
I was going to say, we kind of know where it's going to be going. I mean, we got a little preview from Ian Hazacostas during the BlizzCon thing where
Well,
he's like, I'm not ruling out, so, I mean,
Wait, what? What are you
Wait,
referencing?
in
cross-faction rating.
cross-faction rating and probably Mythic Plusing.
Yeah, but that's their way of saying like anything's possible. It's literally not them.
No, they've
No.
always
Like-
had a hard stance.
They-
to say,
Hey,
Yeah.
hey.
They've
You know, like
They've
No.
always said that
No.
is not going to happen, and now they're not saying that, which to me is as good as it's going to happen. Which I don't have a problem with. I am a huge fan of cross faction, whatever. I don't have a problem with it. For me, I'm not super invested in the world of Warcraft. I know that sounds
I think
weird,
it would be part of the beginning of the failure of the game if they take away faction identity.
I mean, but
okay.
is the game not failing now?
Oh my god.
Well, no,
technically
I mean,
it's not. I mean, we're all still paying for it, so
sure, but there's a
mean-
lot of people who aren't. I mean,
So
How
do you
okay.
know?
I don't.
And what's a lot though?
Well, I mean, that's something they have to decide that it is worth or not.
Well, you
I
just
mean,
said
I
a lot of
can't.
people aren't. I mean, what you just said. You
Well,
just said
that's
a lot
what
of people
normal.
weren't,
Well,
or
that's what
aren't, or whatever.
normally. That's what normally happens, though, is people play the patch content
But it's all
and then
cyclical.
they stop.
I mean, yeah.
Playing. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and they
a
probably
lot
have
of
that planned. They probably have that planned out for years at this point because they already know that cycle.
right.
So I don't think this is necessarily a representation of failure by any means,
I mean,
because the game is still a massive success,
when
especially in its like seventh, eighth, ninth expansion. It can turn around and hit records. Like,
clearly I hit a
you know,
nerve, but I mean,
no,
when
no,
I
no.
was saying,
This is debate. That's not a nerve.
I
This
mean,
is debate.
it
This is
sounds
healthy
nervy.
debate.
But anyway,
What?
when I was saying that, I was kind of, being a little hyperbolic, I mean, but okay,
I think that what they need to do is move the raid stories away from, or move the raids away from telling story content, right? Make them story neutral or faction neutral, so that you're not getting specific stories from one faction or the other depending on how you go in. Once you do that and you get back to like Molten Core, right? Oh, the Firelands are attacking, and it's just it's a raid. Or Blackwing Lair, it affects everybody equally, and there's no like specific tie-in to anything.
right.
Then you can allow cross-faction stuff to happen without removing the identity. You still leave in story stuff. I mean, there's always going to be tension between the Horde and the Alliance. It doesn't matter how many.
Well, not to mention that that's where they're going to draw most of their core story from, anyways, right? I mean, and I think regardless of accessibility when it comes to how many resources are available to do the features that they offer in the game, I still think people probably value drastically different perspectives, right? Because it's one thing that your faction has, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different races, right? And then they have their own contextual backstory and everything that's specific to them, and that gives you pieces of the pie, right? And then overall, it's the Horde and Alliance, and those are drastically different perspectives that you have in a game that is, as big as it is. There's tons of storytelling going on, so I think people are going to value that, whether they want to admit it or not. They're going to value that more than trying to fix, people for a battleground or people for a pug raid or something like that. You know what I mean? Like the stuff that they can fix without messing with the core concept of the game that originates from the original Warcraft series. Like, there's no reason to mess with that. There's ways to fix these other problems that have been created as a side effect of this main thing,
Yeah,
right?
but they're not finding them. That's-
Racials.
No, the racials aren't going to fix that. Like, then you're just imbalancing.
No, I didn't say that. I'm just saying, like, stuff like that where people, like, when they do change racials and people adapt to that massively by swapping their races and stuff like that, those things they can fix, right? I think that overall, though, the staple of being, red versus blue or whatever you want to call it, is too well defined in the game itself to remove,
I think that
or even make it transient to the point where you don't see it as much.
I think that is a outdated view, only because from the perspective of people who are older and not competitive, right? Every Twitch streamer that I watch, competitive Twitch streamer that I watch, doesn't care about the story. Like, all they care about is getting this. They don't care. They don't care what faction they're on. They care about being on the faction that has either the best racials or the best chance for them to be able to do Mythic Plus competitive stuff.
So
right? So I think that the meta is moving towards, and I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying that the landscape is changing as far as players, and it has been clearly because the gameplay has been changing. It's gone from being super easy to do the raids, and they weren't easy for us back then, but they are now because we're better gamers or we have more knowledge about the stuff. But the gameplay has changed to more knee-jerk Twitch stuff where you have to move out of stuff quicker. You have to do this. You have to do that. The mechanics are changing. There's more mechanics. There's, you know what I mean? That's changing and evolving because the player base is doing that. And I think, unfortunately, the story is a casualty of that.
I think you are seeing high-profile people that make up a very small percentage of the player base. So there might be a lot of people that are into the super high-end content. Like a lot is, but that a lot is relative. Like compared to the three of us, 100 people is a lot. Now I know it's more than 100 people, but if you get into like the really big players, when you talk about a game that probably still has millions of players, you don't have more than maybe 5% that are into that.
Sure, but Blizzard has the numbers. They're commenting on it being a problem. So if they're seeing it and they have the numbers,
but I still don't think that that's a death knell for the story. I still think that this game is primarily played by people who care and enjoy the story.
I don't think it's a death knell for the story. I just think it is a death knell for the super faction specific one. If if they create the story in such a way that allows for, examples of cross-faction play. And now whether that is they allow something like in PvP where you have the mercenary mode, where you can be your normal character and flip over because you just want to play. And so, like, if somebody starts up a Horde group, you can bring them over and they switch to a Horde character, like we did in Battle for Dazar Lore. Whether if they implement it like that, or if they just allow you to just group up because we're getting away from that open war storyline, just because the war is over, right? And just because we're kind of banding together to fight the jailer and death and all this stuff, that doesn't mean back on Azeroth and between the factions you don't still have tension. There is still going to be conflicts, and it's just like every time there's been a tentative peace, there's still been skirmishes and all that kind of stuff. Something's happened, and that's just the nature of it, because conflict is interesting and peace is not. And when you look at the actual timeline in the story, it's really only been like 10 or 15 years. And for a lot of those prejudices, stereotypes, and hatreds to go away, it will probably take several generations of in-game time for that to really go away. So I don't think that there's you can't just automatically make everybody happy Care Bears and, you have the Care Bears and then you have the Care Cousins, right? You have the two factions. I mean, granted, those two were never at war, but it would have been awesome, right? That would have been a Care Bears movie I would have watched. Oh my God.
Wasn't that something like Conker's bad for? Oh, Conker was a squirrel. Never mind.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. But like, you can't just all of a sudden have everybody get along. So everybody's gonna hate each other for a while.
You could have part of them get along, and I think that storyline that kind of goes along with Kalia or whatever her name is, and
I think they're moving a story to
Undead
having
stuff.
Yeah, they're moving the story to having a sort of tentative, like almost a third faction, but not quite, right? Where you have people like Bane and Anduin and them are all friends, right? But the people that follow them really don't necessarily care. Like the orcs, I guarantee you don't give a shit about the fucking humans. You know what I mean? It's like they fought them. They probably look at them, and it's most of the the friendship and the camaraderie between the races of the different factions, like that crossover, are at an individual level. And that's always been the case. Look back at Battle for Azeroth and that goblin and that gnome, right? You know, the power couple that nobody can remember the name, but we got a really cool mount out of it.
We did.
You know, and I mean, it's like those are two people opposing faction. Now, okay, granted, goblins are kind of, you know, whoever has the more money kind of thing. They've always been kind of for hire or cartel based and all that stuff. So that's maybe not quite as
Well, yeah, but gnomes are not. They're just straight up alliance.
right. And so, but I mean, you know what I mean? So like, I think we're going to get more towards a gray faction kind of where
I'm interested in that.
and I think that they're probably going to start leaning that way, and I think that that's going to open up some of that stuff. So if they can, if the next big bad is more generic and affects everybody at the same time or in the same way, as opposed to specifically being Siege of Orgrimmar or stuff that's basically just different alliances or Battle for Dazar'alor kind of thing. You know what I mean? Where it's just like you're taking it to the other thing, and that allows it to be open up for, you still have your arenas, which, I mean, arenas don't technically count, but your battlegrounds, I mean, they still kind of fit into the story a little bit, and still have questing if you have to go out in the world and do questing or whatever. There could still be some conflicts between, outposts and stuff like that, or different factions within each Horde and Alliance faction that are either like, no, fuck this tentative peace, we're still going to go out and do our raiding type shit. Like raiding the other faction kind of thing.
I mean, couldn't they just have it so the dungeons and stuff are just outside of, like, they're just not canon? Like, so you could just go in and do it. Like, I don't get where everything has to be,
No,
That's a good point. I mean, I kind of agree. Like,
I don't know.
I really wish they would go back and do more like that.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't
but every
need
dungeon has been tied to the world.
Sure,
But
it's
I think
tied to
you're
the
talking about
world.
like Wrathgate was canonically the Horde
Yeah,
because of the book and all
Yeah.
that stuff, or as opposed to like whoever like actually killed the Lich King.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. If they get away from that part of the storytelling and it's just like the heroes of Azeroth, because technically we're kind of outside of those faction boundaries anyway, because we've done it before
right.
and stuff like that. So I mean, that's fine with like whoever like gets credit for it being a thing.
Well, and you just said it right there. We're kind of out of sight of those lines anyway. We interact with both the Horde and the Alliance. So why is it so outside of the realm of possibility to have us go and do things with Alliance people as a Horde person or a Horde, because we're technically that hero, right, who interacts with both. We're not insular. Heroes. We're not insular.
I mean, I still would like to see, I'd still like to see that oh, there it goes. You see it? Oh,
What?
it just
No.
flew off.
What is it?
Did you have a bug?
No, whatever I was trying to say.
Oh,
I'm like, what the hell?
yeah, you're sitting there and you're just like,
Whoa, there it goes. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Convert to the other side.
Oh,
The
yeah,
the
like a
mercenary.
betrayer
Oh.
quest or
Yeah, but all that,
something like that. Yeah, where you could, yeah.
like
Well-
I want to go be I want to go be a Dark Iron Dwarf, and I want to. God, what is the word for that?
traitor,
No.
Nope.
turncoat.
No.
Nope.
No, it's a less offensive word. I know what you're talking about.
It's more of a verb or something like that to
yeah.
Defect.
Yes, a
Defect.
defector.
There you go.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I know
But I want
See?
to be a dark
Less
I wanna be a
offensive.
Dark Iron Dwarf and go to the Horde.
Right? Or be an
That's what I
undead
really
and go visit your family in the Alliance because
I would
they
like to be an
made
undead paladin.
that.
I'd like to turn my paladin
Right?
into
Well,
an undead. Please.
I don't think that they're gonna.
I don't know that they're going to
necessarily
do that.
Yeah.
If that was the case, let me
Why?
tell you, I want every
Why?
goddamn class to be a druid because I want to have a druid army
No.
like Jim has a Death
No.
Knight army. Yes.
No.
Yes.
Death Knights make sense. Druids don't.
I mean, I
Neither
get
do
that,
paladins.
but you know,
An undead paladin makes perfect sense.
he's dead.
If you can be a holy priest, then fuck you. You can be a freaking
Holy
paladin.
priests and paladins don't channel the same type of energy. It may all.
Okay.
I don't think it's the same thing. I think priest energy is a little bit different than wherever paladins channel theirs from, and I think that's the lower reason behind it, because paladin shit is like
So how do
the
the fucking
antithesis of
trolls
undead.
channel it? Like I get how blood elves channel it. I understand that.
trolls
timeline.
got it from the Loa.
Yeah.
They
Okay,
get-
well
they get-
somebody can pull something out of their ass so an undead can be a paladin.
They should make undead be dark paladins.
Isn't that? A
Oh
death
my
knight?
God, we're getting back into this.
Isn't that a
They
death
should
knight?
have yes and no. Death Knights are different. Dark Paladins wouldn't necessarily
Death
have
knights
runes.
don't have a heal.
Dark Paladins wouldn't. But I mean, they need to get into subclasses.
That would be really cool.
If they would get into subclass like a hunter, you could have like a ranger, or
Dude, that would be really awesome actually.
I mean, turn the specs into subclasses, or make and like give them other than just like the different moves, but like something different, or like, yeah, I mean, like because like Death Knight. I don't know. That's
we
a
kind of
big
got that flavor with covenants. That's what I kind of like.
I'd like to be a ranged
this
death
expansion.
knight.
Death Knight should have a range class.
Yeah, I'd like to be a ranged death knight. That would be very cool.
Like you could give priest could have like if you were to make
A melee priest.
no. Okay, hear me out. Okay, this is the big
The big
head
idea.
cannon. Big head cannon of the
Are we
week.
theory crafting again?
Oh
Yeah.
yes. Oh yes. Take every
Wait.
All right.
no.
Okay.
Take
going.
every class and create a subclass that is the polar opposite. So priests, right? Typically, or
Isn't that what a shadow priest is?
wait, I mean, but like take priest, but then make a subclass of priest that's the exact like a necromancer.
Cleric.
What is a cleric but a paladin?
Like
Yeah.
it's close to a paladin, but
Yeah.
But I mean, but like make
more
a
so.
dark.
I was thinking more so like a. Well, no, I guess that's a paladin too. Fuck, Jim.
I mean, but something like that,
Cut
right?
that out.
I don't know what the polar
So
opposite.
make priest a necromancer.
Yeah, because normally they're like healing and stuff like that. Even shadow priests heal. I mean, they use shadow stuff, but I mean, but instead of oh my God, no, give every class a death. I mean, other than death knights, obviously, a death subclass. So necromancer would be priest. Paladins, you would have like a death knight.
Well, hell, give us something close to the April Fool's thing. The Mossworn Covenant.
Mossworn. Yeah, let us defect and just be bad guys.
Yeah, but don't
Well,
make
not
the
necessarily
thing
that much.
200.
No.
Because that
Well,
was
yeah,
a lot.
200 is too.
200 was 200 too much.
No, but something like that would be kind of cool if we were able to like actually take advantage of those powers and stuff and do something with it. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's be real. They're never going to do anything cool like that.
No, I know. But it's nice to think.
I mean, you don't know. I mean,
Whatever,
if they
you know.
lose enough subs, then they might try new things.
Desperation
Yeah.
drives
This
innovation.
Yes.
I guess it's true.
Yes.
One
Absolutely.
of the things
It's funny.
I wish they would do is take something from like the pen and paper RPG for Warcraft and put in, is it Rune Masters or something like that? Have you ever seen that class?
Mm-mm.
So they're unarmed combat and they don't wear armor, but they have like tattoos of runes on their body to empower them.
Wait, you're not talking about You're talking about the Warhammer?
No, Warcraft RPG. It's
Yeah,
a-
Warhammer has a rune somebody
Warcraft
too.
RPG?
Yes, World of Warcraft has an RPG, a pen and paper RPG.
Oh, I didn't
It's
know that.
non-canon because it's got stuff like the Rune Master in there, but it's basically like
Why
a
have we
monk.
never played that?
I don't know. Why don't we play that?
I don't know.
Hey, let's
I
do
mean,
a
I-
Let's Play YouTube show.
Okay.
There you go.
We'll play that.
Yeah. All right, but
I want to be Thrall because he's Green Jesus.
What's that troll doing out there walking on the water?
Wait, I'm Thrall. I'm not a troll. Oh,
Did I say troll?
yes.
Did I say troll?
Yes.
Yep, there's Jim's mistake for the week.
For the week.
All right, guys. I think we're done. We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Covered a little bit of news at the
made
beginning.
one
Jim made a
mistake.
mistake. It's time to cut it off. We talked about the PTR being
Cut that out.
9.1. Yep, cut it
Cut
out.
it out.
Everybody told me to cut everything out of this episode. We talked a little bit about the Wildhead April Fool's things, World Buff changes in Classic coming with the patch that's on the PTR. Talked a little bit about factions. Talked a lot about factions. We talked about rating again too. But yeah, anyway, thanks everybody for listening. You can check us out at our Twitter. It's @server_. Second mistake, just hit delete. It's @server_restart. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/serverrestartin. And until next week, bye.
Bye.
Bye.